Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Here's Eddie Frederick.
Welcome to Caribbean Perspective. So glad you can join us. The story that dominates in today's edition for Friday, 12th September 2025, and brought to you in association with our friends at Antillean Group. U.S.-Venezuela clash as the U.S. Coast Guard seized 5,900 kilos of cocaine in the Pacific Ocean. Details after this important message.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all, perils big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so glad to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillean Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
The hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
Welcome back. The U.S. Coast Guard has released footage showing one of its cutters setting fire to a suspected drug boat before sinking it in the Pacific Ocean. The operation took place over the weekend as part of the Operation Pacific Viper, the agency said. The video posted online by the Department of Homeland Security (DHS) showed a vessel bursting into flames after being repeatedly shot at. More in this WION news item.
Tensions continue to escalate in the Caribbean Sea as the showdown between the U.S. and Venezuela intensifies. In the latest, the U.S. Coast Guard has seized nearly 5,900 kilograms of cocaine in a fiery interception in the southern Caribbean as part of Operation Pacific Viper. The action comes days after a U.S. military strike authorized by President Trump himself destroyed a suspected Tren de Aragua drug boat that killed 11 Homeland Security officials. That killed 11 people. And Homeland Security officials confirmed that 7 suspected smugglers have been taken into custody following 3 separate interception operations. The move signals a major shift in U.S. counter-narcotics policy away from arrests towards the outright destruction of cartel ships. Earlier, U.S. President Trump had warned that Venezuelan jets could be shot down if they threaten U.S. forces. The tensions between two countries have soared in recent days after the Pentagon accused Venezuela of buzzing its ships in the Caribbean following a deadly U.S. strike on an alleged Venezuelan drug boat. Now, there are currently 8 U.S. Navy ships involved in counter-narcotics efforts in Latin America. Just last week, United States had also ordered at least 10 F-35 stealth fighter jets to Puerto Rico in order to bolster its counter-narcotics operations in the southern Caribbean. Venezuelan Vice President Delcy Rodriguez has expressed skepticism about the U.S. and its intentions to deploy warships near Venezuela's coasts to combat drug trafficking. She said that cocaine is primarily trafficked through the Pacific Ocean, not the Caribbean, where the U.S. has increased its military presence. Vice President Rodriguez implied the U.S. naval deployments were misplaced.
These ships that intend to scare Venezuela should be in the Pacific Ocean if they really want to combat and avoid cocaine arriving in the United States of America. They should be placed there. It's a wrong and illicit concept to use warships to combat a common crime, but they have a GPS problem. They aren't where they should be. They must recalibrate the GPS and move to the Pacific if they don't want the cocaine to reach the United States of America.
In a related development, U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, during a visit to Puerto Rico with the nation's top general, has declared that American forces in the Caribbean are not on training duty but on the front line of a crucial counter-narcotics operation, a real-world battle to defend U.S. interests and stem the flow of drugs.
Guyana's President Irfan Ali and U.S. defense official discussed security cooperation. Following a meeting at State House on Monday with the United States Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense Joseph Humara, President Irfan Ali reaffirmed Guyana's commitment to strengthening defense and security collaboration with the U.S. Tiana Cole of HGP News reports.
The head of state speaking on the sidelines of the swearing-in ceremony for Prime Minister Brigadier Retired Mark Phillips and Vice President Bart Jagdeo. The engagement was a continuation of ongoing cooperation on defense and security.
It's just reinforcing that collaboration, looking at areas that we will expand the collaboration. And of course, we have had many training programs with the U.S., and looking at expanding training program here in Guyana.
He stressed that regional security was also on the agenda, and Guyana is committed to working with all partners, including the United States, to ensure the country plays its role in combating transnational crime.
Whether it's drug trafficking, human trafficking, smuggling. So we support our partners as they support us in fighting these illicit activities.
During the meeting, President Ali emphasized that the sovereignty and defense of Guyana remain central priorities for his government. On Sunday, during his inaugural speech, President Ali pledged that his government will ensure the safety of the nation by building the strongest and most modern defense system in Guyana's history, one designed to safeguard sovereignty and territorial integrity.
We'll deepen partnership with friendly nations, strengthen ties of security cooperation, and continue to repose our faith in the rule of international law, including the peaceful settlement of disputes.
He further added that national security also entails modernizing and strengthening the police, prison, and fire services by equipping them with the necessary tools, training, and resources to serve with greater efficiency, professionalism, and trust.
In this way, Guyana will stand strong, stable, and secure.
Tiana Cole reporting for the HGP 93 News.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick, in association with our friends at
Antillean Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
The Guyana Elections Commission has declared the People's Progressive Party Civic PPPC as the winner of the just concluded general and regional elections, securing 36 seats of the 65-member National Assembly. The We Invest in Nationhood Win Party follows with 16 seats, and the Partnership for National Unity APNU with 12, and the Forward Guyana Movement FGM with 1 seat.
Some political analysts worry that because the incumbent holds a majority, it may very well try to attempt to abuse that authority. Ronald Austin Jr. stated in an exclusive interview with Nightly News that given the current state of affairs, it is challenging to see legislative changes at the level of the opposition, since it will only be capable of verbalizing their concerns.
At the end of the day, the realpolitik is the opposition will have their say, and the government obviously will have their way.
Austin Jr., a historian, policy analyst, and political commentator, said that he will not question whether the government would adhere to the tenets of democracy, but is aware that they will move ahead with or without the support of the parliamentary opposition.
There's no incentive for the government to pander to the opposition or to engage in any deal making. They have a bulletproof 7 seats, which the masses have delivered to them.
The policy analyst told Nightly News that the only efficacy he foresees for the parliamentary opposition is all 3 political parties getting to engage on the critical matters and to hold the government accountable when there is a need to do so. He, however, noted that the importance of the main opposition, WIN and other parties, APNU and FGM, work together with the incumbent on matters of national importance. He described an incident from the previous 12 Parliament that, in his opinion, needed the backing of the parliamentary opposition, which at the time consisted of the APNU and AFC.
The issue of the border controversy came up. The opposition leader declined to support the government, and that was a massive historical development.
The historian pointed out that although it is crucial that these political leaders cooperate, the government, which holds a majority of seats, is unconcerned because it has the authority to approve bills amend laws, and add fiscal supplements. Antonio Day reporting for the HEP Nightly News.
Over now in Trinidad, where Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Busassar shuts down requests from Colombia's president to recover bodies from the civilian vessel blasted and bombed by U.S. anti-drug forces recently.
President Pedro said it is extremely important for this country to search for the remains of what he's calling the civilians who died from the U.S. attack on a civilian vessel. Take note of the word civilian. The president made a bold assertion and said the bombing took place in this country's territorial waters, and he's asking if the Kamla Persad-Busassar government gave the U.S. such permission. Now, Persad-Busassar responded a little while ago with some very strong language. The PM said this country will not waste resources to look for those bodies. She said our Coast Guard resources will be utilized for the protection of our borders, not to look for dead drug traffickers. However, she said, if any carcasses, not corpses, but carcasses, which is a word usually reserved for dead animals, wash up on our shores, we will recover them. Now, remember, President Petro called that vessel a civilian vessel, but the PM countered and said that was not a civilian vessel. She said the drugs on that boat bring death to people here, destroy families and careers, and fracture society. She says those drugs bring more death and despair than conventional weapons. The Prime Minister said this country is in a war against drugs and trafficking, and there will be consequences. And Persad-Busassar said she'd much prefer seeing drug and gun traffickers blown to pieces than seeing hundreds of our citizens murdered each year because of drug-fueled gang violence.
Now, Akash, we understand that Persad-Busassar also announced the cracking down of illegal immigrants and those who commit crimes. What else can you tell us on that?
Yes, Jesse, the Prime Minister said the TTPS has increased its monitoring of illegal immigrants involved in drug and human trafficking. The Prime Minister said the government is working to upgrade the Cedros Coast Guard facility and has dispatched more vessels to the area. And most importantly, the PM said soon the state will deport about 200 Venezuelans who are in our jails. I would have asked the PM how soon, but I'm still awaiting a response. The Prime Minister added this country's migrant policy is in train, and this will help to reduce illegal immigration and trafficking. However, she said it will not be lenient to those who are here illegally and cannot provide verifiable information on how they earn a living in Trinidad and Tobago.
On that note, Akash, are there any updates on the government's migrant policy?
That's a good question, Ria. A migrant policy was a major campaign promise made by the UNC. Interestingly enough, last month, the PM said the policy is still in the works, but will not be one of mass deportations. However, the PM was clear that only applies to law-abiding migrants, meaning if you're here legally and can show proof of that, then you should be fine. Now, I remember her in May saying it won't be a case of the government going around and picking up every migrant and deporting them. However, she has always said criminals will be sent back. I think, Ria, this is a good place to find out the progress of that policy. We'll do that, and we would have reached out to the Venezuelan ambassador a short while ago who acknowledged our questions, but said he would get back to us on if he has the clearance to respond.
And now for a special interest item. A newly released video shows a U.S. missile bouncing off a UFO off the coast of Yemen sometime last year, causing concern for national security officials in the U.S. CBS News' Charlie D'Agata breaks it down.
The newly released video captured by a U.S. Reaper drone shows a glowing orb off the coast of Yemen. Suddenly, on the left side of your screen, you see a Hellfire missile zip in, strike that unidentified object, then bounce right off it. When we slow the video down, you see the Hellfire missile continue to travel on its path, that trajectory becoming clearer from this zoomed-out angle. Not shown is a second Reaper drone that launched the missile. Congressman Eric Burleson shared the video at a House Oversight Committee on what the military calls unidentified aerial phenomena, better known as UFOs.
That's a Hellfire missile smacking into that UFO and just bounced right off. And it kept going.
It kept going, and it looks like the debris was taken with it.
Yeah, what the hell is that?
We've never seen a Hellfire missile hit a target and bounce off.
Lou Elizondo is a former senior intelligence officer with the Pentagon.
The Hellfire makes a hit, a kinetic strike on something solid. There's usually not much left of whatever it is it's hitting. It's very, very destructive. What seems to happen is that the missile is either redirected or in some case perhaps glances off the object and continues on its way.
A recent government report revealed the government received more than 750 new UAP sightings in the 2024 fiscal year, leaving lawmakers digging into the mystery and national security concerns posed by these objects.
Does this video scare you guys? Yes or no?
Yes.
Wiggins?
Yes.
Yes.
Me too. There's a lot of information that's not in that video, like what mission they were on, and as they said, what are we even looking at here? We do know that the U.S. military was conducting airstrikes against Houthi targets at the time. Pentagon officials tell CBS News, no comment. Charlie Daggett, CBS News, Washington.
I am Eddie Frederick, wishing you a restful weekend. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean.
In the meantime, please follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel for daily regional news and more, in association with our friends at Antillian Group.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all perils, big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so clear to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillian Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.